No, I thought Sam looked great, and I was happy he won, and I look forward to seeing him at the Arnold Amateur. And I thought anyone who criticized him, I thought, like, I get it. It's kind of our jobs, I guess, is to like point out what could have been better, you know.
Right.
But
not my job.
Yeah, I just, you know, I loved it. It was a victory for like the keep it simple, train hard people, you know.
Yeah.
A little bit of a victory for them. Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm Big Ron Partlow, of course, with Dusty Hanshaw and the producer, Scott McNally. Remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, and
ring the bell.
Oh, there
Harvey's ringing the bell.
That was a good bell ring, Harvey.
He was ready.
So, and remember, IamMutant.com. Go to IamMutant.com. Get your all in, get your surgeon. Everyone should get on the gear. Okay. Yes. We're very excited. This is our last show before the Arnold. Is that true? Because I'm gone next Monday.
Yeah.
And we'll probably do something.
Your last show.
Yeah, your last show.
Yeah. We'll do another one where I talk shit about you not being here and I rape the intro like always.
Someone to come in and tell great stories and no one cares that I'm not here. I get it.
That was such a good move by me. I did not. Scott goes, "You did so good." I'm like, I literally brought Jose and shut my mouth. It was perfect.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Bring Jose in. That was good. It was good. I liked the Jose interview, or the Jose episode. It wasn't an interview, really.
Yeah, I actually left at one point.
You know? Oh, that's good. I'm going to try that. So I actually just did 100% or nothing with Anth and Leroy and Dan yesterday. So that was fun. You know what I mean? I've only got to meet Leroy once, so, you know, I turned the tables on them a little and asked Leroy some questions at one point.
Yeah,
you know?
I could see you just taking the show and being like, I have questions for you.
Yeah, I got questions. You know what I mean? So it was funny. It was a good time, though. It was a good time. I like those guys, you know? Yeah. I had a fun time. It's fun being a guest on other people's show. It reminds me of that when Bill Burr, you know, they said, you know how he had that cartoon, F is for Family? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Bill Burr had that cartoon. And they said, like, why'd you do a cartoon? And he's like, oh, I learned a long time ago you don't want your own show. Like, it's like a boat. You want your friends to have them, and then you go on them. Yes. Right?
He said,
that's great.
Yeah. So when they really insisted he have his own show, he's like, it's got to be animated. I'm not working. Like, I'll voice it. That's it. I'm not having a show.
I didn't even know he had anything to do with that show. I watched like the whole thing on an airplane one time. Never saw it before. Like just plowed through all of it.
And
it was
you didn't
good.
Realize it was Bill Burr's childhood?
No, it was great though. It was great.
Yeah. That's exactly it. So yeah, there's a little bit of truth to that. It's fun to go on someone else's show. You just roll in, leave a mess. See ya.
I did Tuttle and Milos's last week too. Have you done that one yet?
No, I haven't. That's a good one. Tuttle and Milos. I have to watch that with you.
Yeah, it was great. It was real. I mean, Chris is so organized.
Oh yeah,
that, like you just roll on, and he's just one after the next. Oh, this is
great talker too. He's really good at what he does for sure.
Do they actually follow the plan too?
Oh man, I don't know. He actually seemed to have a plan, but we did once the show was over. Play. Look at how many toys I have in the armory.
Oh,
yes.
That a boy.
It's good.
Scott, I'd send him to Scott. Scott was proud.
It was good. Good setup there. Yeah.
I'm sure he is. What's Milos think of the whole USA thing? Is he on board?
You know what's funny is Milos, I feel like he didn't really know what we were getting into, so he just had like a few pointed questions.
Yeah.
But not as much. So I did tell him I wanted to get him on ours, and he said he was willing. So that'd be fun.
Nice.
I would love to go back in the day with him.
Oh yeah.
You know, and Milos is great because he's so opinionated, which I love. I can't stand when people like sit on the fence. Milos will look at you and go, "You're an idiot." You're like, cool.
Accurately rated people are losers.
Yeah. Scott used to be one of those, but we brought him to the other side. Now he chooses against us just
for the controversy. Well, just for the hits.
If we are able to get Milos on, we'll have to do a reaction with him. That's a try to do a reaction with him. Get the stories.
Yeah. I'd love to get some DJ stories from him.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah, the old Coliseum days.
Oh man.
So what's going on? We got the Arnold coming up, and what were we talking about? And we got Sam Sulek just did a show. Of course, everyone's buzzing about the Sam Sulek, look. What did you guys think of that? Let's discuss that for a second.
I thought that for me, I guess I'm the only one that I didn't know Sam very well. I didn't see him in the gym, and him being peeled is exactly what I expected after training at Dino's with him. Because it just doesn't shock me. He's the guy that's, on his third day at the Arnold over there and squatting 5-6 plates, whatever it was,
Yeah.
And
he looked great. Good for him.
Yeah. He did awesome. And you could tell, and I say this as a positive, like he literally did it all himself. So imagine, if he hired a coach to do posing with for 4 sessions.
Oh yeah.
Because like even in that shot right there, his legs are much more diced in than that. He just doesn't know how to make them fire.
Yeah. Split to the hips, as I like to say. He needs his quads. He needs to be split to the hips. It's all a posing thing. He could learn it inside one session. I think
that's like I said with the guy that I posed with the first time when I hit all my shots. He goes, "All right, so we got 2 options here. You can either spend a year and try to put on 15 pounds of muscle and come back, or I can change your posing and we can do it now."
Yes.
Let's do it now.
Guys. Look at these 2 guys here with him. I only had a couple pictures, but like it's not as if he was competing against dudes that weren't in shape. These guys next to him are good, both really peeled. They both have a lot of muscle, So it was definitely
those are 2 guys that could have won if he didn't show up.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's had to have been weird for him being famous though. Like, because imagine him backstage. Although I'm not saying on the level as far as an athlete, but that's like having Ronnie Coleman backstage at your show.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows who he is, and you're like,
are you allowed to compete and be the guest poser too? Can you do people do?
Right. Yeah.
The guest, if there was a guest poser at that show, he's disappointed because he got overshadowed by a kid doing his first show.
Yeah.
One thing I have to say, and is I was surprised. I got 3 messages from people I'm really close with who said after Sam released the photos, that pictures he put out like right before the show of him like posing in the gym.
Yeah, Dragon's Lair.
When they saw that video of him at Dragon's Lair posing or whatever, I had 3 people message me and they're like, "Who's coaching him?" And I said, "Nobody." And I was a little surprised at how shocked they were that he didn't have a coach.
Okay.
They're like, "What? How can he not have a coach?" And I was like, and then I realized, I was like, oh, like they're not shocked that he doesn't have a coach. They're shocked that he doesn't have a coach and he looks good.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
And to me, that's weird. I'm like, a bodybuilder should look good even without a coach. They should know that much.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it just made me kind of pause and think, like, some people, I guess they sort of just they think the coach is like, they're amazed that anyone even has abs without a coach.
Like, it's not really that complicated the complication of not having a coach is overdoing for someone like Sam or underdoing like other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the guy who's on the tarmac who's waving a little bit over, like you're landing the plane, you're doing all the work. If you crash, you're kind of blamed. Yeah. But he's making sure he's helping you land it and getting you in the right spot. And I think some people see the coach as like absolutely everything, and I don't want to be that for my clients. Like, I don't want my clients to feel completely paralyzed. Like, I often joke with people, like, 3 weeks out or something, I'll say, well, if I get hit by a bus, don't change a thing. Just walk on stage like this. Like, you look good. Like, you look really good. Like, this is an example, right? I might say this to someone. Like, if I get hit by a bus, just get up and go to the show looking like this because you'll be all right. And sometimes it's just a joke, but sometimes they're like, oh, God, don't do that. Oh, I'll be. And I'm like, you'll be okay. Yeah, I could fall into a coma like Dusty, and you would be all right.
I was going to say that 2 of my clients did that when I went into a coma.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They literally just And it was funny because we were on a real low point of their diet. So obviously I would have made some tweaks. But so when I literally woke up, one of them won an overall. And I was like, oh, who brought you the rest of the rain? He goes, I just stayed on the diet. And then the night before the show, I stopped drinking water. And I was like,
okay,
cool. And I mean, obviously there could have been room, but he dropped because it was a month, he dropped 5 more pounds, staying on plan. And and that's another example of why I have some clients that worry when there's no changes. And I'm like, no, if I'm not changing things, we're in a really good place. It's just rolling. You know, you have a few where you start. I mean, I've had some that have gone long enough. I'm like, I promise this isn't normal. The fact that you've been on the same diet for 7 weeks isn't usually how it works. Be thankful that you are, but most people, we would have needed at least a tweak or two by now. But yeah, he just rolled right in, won the whole show. And he's like, I wasn't comfortable handing it over to anyone else, and we were losing fat. So I just kept going. I'm like, good.
Yeah. No, it's,
I billed him for the month too, because he was following my diet. I'm like, you owe me $250.
Yeah. Your payment doesn't get turned off. Yeah.
Just because I turned off for a month doesn't mean you do.
Just because you didn't need me doesn't mean I wasn't here. Yeah. No, I thought Sam looked great, and I was happy he won, and I look forward to seeing him at the Arnold Amateur. And I thought anyone who criticized him, I thought I get it. It's kind of our jobs, I guess, is to point out what could have been better. You know, but
not my job.
I just, I loved it. It was a victory for the keep it simple, train hard people. You know,
a
little bit of a victory for them.
Yep.
You know.
Hey, you guys want to see something really crazy? Check this shot out.
Oh damn!
Yeah.
When's that from?
Photoshopped. Those socks aren't real.
Yeah. VJ just sent me these. I don't know where he got them from. I'm guessing that Shaun Clarida recently posted them. Here's a
hopefully we're supposed to be showing these. We're not getting in trouble.
Yeah. This is definitely public information. Man, he is looking freaking incredible. Look at that waist too.
Yeah.
This is looking dangerous, man.
The muscle quality and density is
it's just insane.
I mean, he's something else, man. He's his own project. It's an interesting position to be in, Shaun Clarida. He has a very unique spot that no one else is even trying to occupy in the in the bodybuilding hierarchy. You know what I mean? He's completely his own animal in that way. There's no one else like him. No one's trying to be him.
Yeah.
He's got his own look and his own way of doing it, and I don't know. I love the position he's in. I think it's great. I think and there's 10 guys that are the same height, same weight, kind of have the same physique as you.
Yeah,
it's like most of the pros are kind of around 5'8" or 9" or whatever they say the average height and all that stuff, and then to be such an outlier like that, I think the name of the game is to maximize your really see yourself as separate. I think is the best way to handle it. Sort of like how Jamie the Giant, he was on the opposite ends. When Jamie was at his biggest and competing, when he got 4th at the Arnold UK or whatever year that was, or wherever he landed, he looked really good at those shows. Remember that last year he competed? He really looked great. Really looked awesome. And, he's got the 6'5" thing and, a little tall, and it's hard to compete against it. But I just say, don't even, just be your own complete freak. Just own that 6'5" thing and just be the very craziest looking 6'5" anyone's ever seen. And then great things come of it, and sure as shit, Jamie winds up on TV and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, the name of the game is to be the best version of you. And when you're Shaun Clarida and you have this completely unique thing going on, I don't know. I think it's a great spot to be in. I think it's an underrated position to be in, is to be so unique like that.
Yeah.
I was going to add too, though. First off, look at those pictures. That might be the best Shaun's ever been.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, man. He looks incredible.
I'm saying including stage. I don't know that his best Olympia could beat his 2 week out, whatever those were, photos. Like that is bonkers.
And I completely forgot who's coaching him now.
He's dude.
Is he working? Is he Patrick?
No.
I forget. I'll look it up.
Outlaw,
how about that?
What's his name? Outlaw something?
Oh, Boss Outlaw.
Boss Outlaw. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And he said that the plan
Stefan's helping everybody now, isn't he?
Stefan's very busy.
Look at the results he's getting with all these different athletes.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think is mind-boggling and really shows who he is as a coach, because they're all on different ends of the spectrum. And Shaun did say that the approach is completely different.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah. What he's doing is completely different than what he was doing before. And look at his waist.
Yeah. Yeah. He looks incredible, dude. This is like a step forward. He was so good before, and to think he could take a big step forward from that, like this is a big step forward from that.
I'll be the first to admit that, obviously Shaun's a good friend, but I thought he was kind of tapped, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean in a good way. Like, how was he supposed to get better? And then you see this, and you're like, all right, I'm going to stop talking because you've gotten drastically better. And that makes me think, well, what will they do with another, like by the Olympia? If you look this good now, I mean, that's a game-changing thing. And then, Ron, what you were saying, I think I agree 100% on the Jamie the Giant, Shaun Clarida thing, but I think that even in the middle, too many people, especially as you get to the top level, start playing other people's games.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you look at Jay Cutler when he won his last Arnold, which there's an asterisk next to that one, everyone knows it. He was trying to play Dexter's game. I'm going to be extra sliced. And it's like, no, just be so big it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He played into, he played into Dexter's strength. And it's like, people need to do that in general. It's the same thing with social media. Like, how should I act? Don't act.
Yeah.
Right. Just do you, the strongest version, and that will be your best result. Even if it's not a great result, it'll be your best result, So I haven't seen those pictures, so I'm a little blown away in the moment. I mean, that rear double, I was like leaning in because I'm like, do you have cross-striations in your abs? I didn't know that was a thing other than Dexter Jackson.
Yeah. Do you think anyone can beat Samson? Realistically, do you think it's just not going to happen? Do you think there's any possibility that everyone sits up in their seat at first call out and goes, oh shit, what's going to happen here? Or do you think it's just like, we've got a Mr. Olympia winner, he's very, very, very good and only getting better, and you just don't see the train stopping here?
I think it's possible.
I agree, and the reason I think it's possible is in 2000 in what was it? In 2002, you didn't expect Ronnie to come in 2003 the way he did. And you've got a bunch of guys that are following him that are doing new things. I'm not saying that, for example, Derek, like obviously he's been phenomenal since he started bodybuilding. I mean, he was phenomenal as a middleweight. But what if they unlocked something that's just different, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, shit. Because I will say, like, Samson's going to nail it. He looks nuts.
Yeah.
But I do think that I would never say that the Ronnie Coleman era is over. Meaning, I don't think anybody can just show up.
There ain't no runaways. This ain't the Ronnie Coleman days. I love that line.
Exactly. And that's what I really think that's what it is now. And for me as a fan, it's so much better.
Yeah.
Like so I actually skipped an Olympia going to the show once because I was like, I already know who's winning. And listen, I haven't seen this Vegas show, so I'm going to go do that instead.
Listen though, I'm going to throw this in there. So Samson beat Derek once, right? And when he beat him, Derek was definitely, I would say, we can't say at his worst because he was still incredible. But
his worst is better than everyone else.
Right? Yeah. I mean, he wasn't far. He will say he was far from his best, and I don't think that they're going to make that mistake again. We saw Derek's legs blow right back up a month later after the show, or weeks later after the show. If Derek comes back in at his absolute best, we know he's not going to be depleted, flattened out, whatever. I mean, it could be a different game. That said, it's still the Arnold, and I feel like when I think of all those guys, what says Arnold Classic to me more than Samson's physique or Cedric's physique? You know what I mean? Guys like that.
Exactly what I just thought when you said
Arnold even made a point. I remember that Cedric win. Arnold even made a point at saying, there's a reason why Cedric won the Arnold.
So there is that going on at the Arnold, right?
We love the shape, So here's something I haven't heard anybody say. I know we're all aware of it, but I'd love to look at a chart and see how much it's actually going to affect things. We have essentially lost 2 extremely popular, high level, and relevant coaches.
Yeah.
Matt and Hani both had their fingers in the top 10s of these divisions for a long time now. And they're both gone, which means the Derricks and the Hotties, as well as the Claritas and all the guys Matt was helping, the Nicks and all those guys, have now gone to other coaches. So we've got this potential real shakeup. We could have guys that we thought were awesome because Hani was nailing them every year, but maybe he just need to try something different. And he comes in like, what if Hottie is better?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, these coaches were awesome, but you know how people get into like a loop of working together, and that's how they do things.
Sure.
And sometimes you're like, oh, well, that coach is great. He won a couple Olympias and all that. But then he switched coaches and, oh, he's actually better now. So there's all these crazy things that could come of this. Or every single one of those guys could look worse.
But it's very true, though, because you can have a great result with a coach and have a better with someone else. I mean, I always think back to Chris Cook. He worked with Hani for 2 years, won the USA Super Heavies twice. And back then there was only one pro card. It was the overall.
Yeah.
And then he reached out to Chris and said, hey, can you get me ready for nationals? And Chris said, sure. It was like 12 or 16 weeks out at this point. And Chris said, sure, it's X amount of dollars. And Chris Cook was like, ooh, it's steep. And Cito goes, if you don't win the overall, you can keep it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a bold statement from a guy who's already working with another one of the best. And he did. He won the overall, and he did look better.
Yeah.
And everything was different. And it's not to say that's not a Chris is better than a Hani comment at all. It's just whether it was the change, whether it was just his way worked for his body. I mean, I've seen guys work with Chris that looked better before him. So it's not that. It's just sometimes things click. So I hope that they all come in better than they've ever been, because I'm a selfish fan that wants to see a brawl on stage. And I mean, like last year when we were after prejudging, we weren't agreeing on who was winning, and that was fun.
I remember. Like, I specifically remember after prejudging, I was like, I'm not even saying I don't even make a prediction on this one. Like I wasn't even convinced. I didn't even think it was going to end.
Pick someone.
Yeah.
No, so that would be fantastic, and it's great for the sport, even if it comes out, as you would guess currently, but it's tighter. That makes the Olympia another. I also love that so many guys are doing both.
Yeah, I'd love to see some crazy, weird placings. Like I would love to see an Olympia winner. There's 3 Olympia winners, right, in this show. There's 3 Mr. Olympias.
One doesn't make the top 5.
Well, I was going to say, what are the odds that one of those Olympia winners isn't top 3? That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Does an Olympia winner get beat by a non-Olympia winner at this show? That's the big question. And it could happen, man. That would be, and that's really crazy. Like this is uncharted territory for bodybuilding. Like we're used to these long legacy eras where one guy doesn't do, and the Mr. Olympia doesn't even do the Arnold, right? Ronnie did it once. It was like, what are you doing? This crazy thing that he did. And now they're all hopping in it, and it's I don't know. I'm excited.
Yeah,
What's
me too.
Scott playing?
It's going to be awesome.
What's Scott up to?
It's just some stuff going on in the background. I was talking to Kuba. He's in South America right now.
Me too. No, but I just wanted to say that.
I don't even know what he's doing there, but he's like he reached like 280s, which was what his goal was for his off season. I just said to him real quick because I figured I'd talk to him later. But I was like, hey, send me a picture of what it looks like there. I'll throw it up on the screen. I'm talking to the guys right now, so maybe we'll get a picture of what South America looks like from Cuba.
Oh, I thought you were sending a 280 looks like. That was more what I was looking for.
Oh, I saw him post that. I'll tell him, send a picture of that.
Thank you for tuning in, and if we are providing value to you today, let me encourage you to subscribe and hit the bell. We have several bodybuilding podcasts that come out each week.
So, I wanted to throw this in, guys. Arnold Classic. So, number one, everybody who's watching, what do you guys think? Can Samson be beat? That's my question to everybody in the audience. And if he can be beat, who's going to do it?
And if he doesn't get beat, who's going to hire his wife that's not him?
Right. Here's my question. Do you think one of the 3 Mr. Olympias places outside the top 3? That's my question.
I think it's possible.
Wow.
Because it's Hottie, Derek, and Samson, correct?
Yeah.
There's no V's and U's on Hottie.
And Brandon.
There's 4.
Oh, and Brandon, 4. There's 4 Mr. Olympias.
Yeah.
Shit. Should have corrected me. I said that like 10 times already.
Did you?
Yeah.
We just wanted to leave it so you looked dumb and everyone yelled at you.
I wanted to get more comments, for the stream.
Well, I guess because I was
still an idiot.
I was thinking the top 3. I was thinking the top 3 from the Olympia are all Mr. Olympias, and they're there, right? So that's what I was thinking. But yeah, you're right. Brandon's there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be crazy if that was a top 4?
Oh, that would be wild.
Man.
And doesn't Brandon have a new coach as well?
Yep. He's working with Justin Harris.
So I am super excited about that because we've all said on this show how much we love Brandon, how much we love his physique, and I've criticized Brandon because I've said that I want his legs to be more cut.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like I want there to be more focus on conditioning and the quads and stuff like that. So that's my criticism of, because he even said when he was on our show that he really likes that super full look.
Right.
And he's gotten good results with it. So we'll see what Justin does because Justin's guys look great. Yeah. And I mean this could be awesome, man. Be an awesome matchup. So
I had kind of a related question, and I got a picture of Kuba. But the related question was, so we're talking about Arnold. We're all getting ready to travel there. The question is, and I'll give you guys a minute to think about it, it's going to be, what's the craziest thing that you've ever seen at an expo? And while you think about that, here's a Kuba at 280 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's pretty lean.
You guys so fat. Pretty lean at 280. Again with the fake socks.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. With those socks? What are those?
Yeah. Zoom in.
Let me see if I can.
There we go.
Is it panda bears on them?
I don't even know. I see flowers.
He's gonna be. This is what we're doing with his physique.
We're looking at the socks.
We're the worst bodybuilding podcast ever.
Yeah, he's looking great though. He's looking incredible.
He looks awesome.
Yeah.
He is the king of in his videos. Just when I saw him in person at the Olympia, I went, "The hell! You are enormous."
Oh yeah,
he's a big guy.
And he doesn't because he's always by himself and he's always covered up. So you don't really, there's no one to compare him to. Right. And I just never realized. I mean, when he walked up, I was like, and then, because we took a big picture, I put my arm on his shoulder and I was like, oh, and you're also in single digit body fat. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mind boggling. So I have a first response to your question. It's not the craziest thing I've seen.
Okay.
But it was one of my first Arnolds. You walk down the long hallway, you go down the escalator before you go in. And in front of me was a couple guys, and they got ready for the expo. They were just people, just fans. But this guy's got his stringer tank on, and he's opened up. He's ready, and he's walking in. And it was so funny because I was behind him, and I was kind of laughing in my head. I was like, not the place for this dude. And right when we came in the corner, this will tell you what year it was, Tony Freeman standing there in a tank top.
Oh, yeah.
And his delts look like planets.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as we rounded the corner, I saw Tony, and I realized he did too, because I watched him just go, and like the arms came down and the shoulders went down. And I was like, you're at the Arnold now, son. Like, that's just a guy hanging out here. I mean, and Tony, Tony to me, which I would love to have him on because he is a underrated freak. He was so massive.
Yeah, he really was.
He's a guy at his height. His legs were huge, but his shoulders literally looked like my head on either side.
Yeah,
and it was just a comical thing to watch because I was like, "Oh, you've only been to local shows. This is something different."
It really is. It really is.
I remember. I don't know why this stuck in my brain, but it just like did. But Tony Freeman guest posed at a show that I had clients in. And so he was standing out in the lobby, like at one of the booths, just like taking pictures with people, And he was in very relaxed mode. I chatted with him for a bit. He told me his legs measured 34 inches.
Believe it, heartbeat.
Because he was humongous. Like, he was humongous. I remember thinking, like, this guy's bigger than Gunter, because Gunter was like the biggest guest poser I'd ever seen at the time. He was just, as a guest poser, he was just like ridiculous. And I asked Tony, I said, how big are your legs? He goes, I measured him at 44 once, not long ago. And I was like, oh, fuck. Oh, shit.
34.
Anyways, yeah, 34. Anyways, he's standing there and he's taking pictures with people. And this guy that I kind of knew was standing there, and his people were getting photos with him. And he goes, oh, my wife wants a picture with Tony. And the other guy goes, fuck that. I'm not feeding my wife to Tony Freeman.
I had to mute my cough there. Oh my God.
It was amazing.
I just started laughing. I remember I'll never forget that. I wasn't listening, but I heard him. And I was just like, oh God. It's so funny. Because, some guys are like, take a picture with Tony, and they're like, take a photo. And the one guy's like, my wife's not standing.
No.
I'm out of here.
We're getting out of here.
Yeah.
I had a great one. It wasn't at the Arnold, but we were in, I think it was FIBO one year, and the owner of iForce and I were having lunch. So we're in like the cafeteria area, and I had my back to the entrance, and he was sitting across the table from me, and we're talking, and all of a sudden, everyone kind of stood up and faced the doorway. And Dave goes, what the hell's going on? And I go, didn't even stop eating. I go, Jay must be here. Just kept eating. About 2 seconds later, I get a slap on the back, and Jay's like, what's up, man? I'm like, oh, hey, good to see you. And that was the pull that he had, and still does, but his prime. I'm talking pros, top level guys. The entire room shifted because Jay came in for lunch.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was funny because I had seen enough of it that I didn't have to turn. I'm like, oh, I know what this is.
That's funny.
Jay's here.
I remember one year at the Olympia, I think it was the Olympia, we were in one of the main hallways, like we always had a good booth, and everyone just vanished. It was like when the wave comes in and then the wave goes way out, and you're like, oh shit, where'd the water go? Like everyone just gone, and they were like running, like gone, and it emptied out. Like I was like, where is everyone going? Like a fire, like a stampede, yeah, like a fire. And so I like walked around the corner to go see what the hell was going on, and The Rock had shown up, and he was standing up high at the Weeder booth, I believe.
Okay,
waving, and man, like the fire marshals would not have been happy with how crowded that part of the room was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these problems happening that I could see that I was like, this is crazy. But yeah, you have a power to like vacuum out a room like that. Just by showing up and waving, you're like, damn.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the cool things that the Baileys were one of the first ones to do, which was be so big that the Arnold came to their booth complaining. Yeah. Because their line and the area completely bogged down all flow to any booths. No one could get around, and they're like, you have to form a line. And like, we have one. And they're like,
Yeah.
But it's 5,000 people deep. Like at that point, you could not get to Dana at all.
So
she used to hide in our booths. To eat, like one time she was snuck out when we were in FIBO. We had one of those booths where we had an edge all the way around the front. And she comes around the corner and I see Rob and he just kind of gives me a look. So I'm like, all right, I don't know what's happening, but kind of gave him a nod. And Dana comes in front of him and then sits underneath the counter and just sits there.
Those little tiny counters that you sign things on.
No, this was like a decent sized counter, so she could actually get under it. But she gets under it, and I'm talking to Rob, and he goes, "She just needs a minute. Like she can't get away." And just as he said that, someone realized, and a guy stuck his head over the edge. He goes, "Hey, Dana, can I get a picture?" And I was like, "Bro, she's literally hiding." And it's not that she's. I mean, Dana is phenomenal with the fans, but she literally just needed like a 2-minute reset and couldn't get one.
Yeah. I remember when they came to our booth in FIBO and she had a nap in the back of the booth because we had that giant FIBO booth, and she went and laid on some like bags of mutant mass and fell asleep.
No kidding.
Yeah. The funniest thing about Rob and Dana was when they stopped bringing merchandise.
Yeah.
And they stopped having a backdrop and they stopped putting any money at all into the booth. They just rented a 10x10 and then they just showed up and took pictures with people. And they didn't bring anything to sell or nothing. It was just literally we're just here for pictures. And then they put like just an 8x10 piece of white paper on the backdrop that said, "We will be here at 2 p.m.
Okay.
And like that was it. So like at 2 p.m. there's a big line and they roll in and take pictures for like 2 hours straight and leave. They're there 2 to 4. That was it. That's the whole reason they had a booth. Yeah.
Those were awesome times watching them. You know.
Yeah. Now, what didn't you have those pictures? Didn't you send some pictures to the chat? Crazy looking lady.
This is one of my
highlights,
favorite memories of the Expos.
There you go.
She'll be at the Arnold, and so will those. And she has actually 2 more in the back. See, there you go. You can see them.
There you go. Yeah.
So yeah, that's something I always remember from the trips.
Whew. What does her doctor say about her back health? You know, what's that? I wonder.
Well, one doctor, I think they're brothers. The doctor that does the front, and then the doctor who later surgically fixes the back. So it's it's like a long game financially for them.
Yeah. Wow. I remember seeing her too. Yeah.
I like women that can go places and do things. She doesn't look like she's that functional.
She's not very mobile.
You can float the river with her.
Like, how do you even go to a movie?
Yeah.
Can you even go to a movie?
What about an airplane?
Yeah, can you fly in a normal airplane?
Do you need
think about the convenience of putting your cup and not having to find. I hate when you're in the movie and you got to put the cup back in the cup hole and you can't find it and you're like, where's it? And then it drops in there the whole time. He just drops it and then gets a drink. It's perfect.
I'm also curious to know how many of our listeners are going to the show. How many people are coming to the expo, and how many people are going to come and hang out with us? I want those people to comment. And
they better all come see us. Yeah, because I hate after a show. I will say this on a more serious note. Like, I'm using this term a little loosely, but there's nothing worse than when someone says, "I saw you guys, but I didn't want to bother you."
Oh, yeah.
When from the time that I board an airplane,
I'm already bothered.
When I get to the, you can't unbother. No, but
I already had to take 2 flights. I'm there.
The moment I get on get to the airport, the Arnold starts.
Yeah,
and I don't care if we're eating breakfast. None of that shit matters. Walk over, say hi, anything you want. And I do know this from talking to a lot of other athletes and people who are much more well known. They all say the same thing. It doesn't take 2 seconds, to say hello, take a picture, whatever you want. So
unless you're hiding under a table.
Yeah, if they're hiding under a table, maybe just wait till they come out. They'll have to come out eventually. But it's like that is what everyone's there for. So keep that in mind, because I've been on that side, like when I first started going to expos, and I could see not wanting to walk up to someone, but it's like, no, that's what they're there for. So definitely do. And with any of the athletes, I mean, it's really, it does not get old to be able to talk to people who love the same thing we do.
Yeah, I get it. I remember I've been on that other side. I remember one time taking a picture. I had my girlfriend was with me, and I was like, "Oh, hey, would you get? I want you to get a picture with me with Mike Liberatore over there." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And like Mike wasn't, with respect, he wasn't like the hugest guy. There weren't like tons of people lining up, but everybody knew who Mike was, right? And and he was one of the guys I really liked, and I remembered seeing him turn pro, and then hearing him on stuff and seeing him compete. So I was kind of nervous, and I was like, "Oh, hey, Mike, nice to meet you," and all this. And I was like, "You mind if I get a picture?" And my girlfriend's already got the phone on, you know what I mean? Because I handed it to her like we're prepped. And I get in there, we take the picture, and then I walk away, and I look at the picture, and it was like framed up terribly. I was like,
"Oh, that's the worst."
I was like, "You didn't do it right," But I didn't go back. I didn't go back. I was like, "That's the picture I got."
By the way.
And now you know why.
She actually went home after that in a separate car.
But I didn't go back. I was like, "No, that's the picture I got. It's all I could do."
I have a friend that's a huge bodybuilding fan, and she's very successful. Doesn't like. People are just people, you know what I mean? And so she wanted to meet Kai. So I was like, all right, I'll go over there and kind of speed up the process for you. So I got her to the front line and I left. And then she came over and I said, "So what'd you say to Kai?" She goes, "He looked at me and started talking," and she goes, "and my mouth stopped working." And I didn't know what to say. She was like, "I was just so in awe that it was him." And she said he realized and stood up and came around and then basically talked to her until she like became a human again. And then she goes, which only made it worse because I just felt like the biggest dumbass. She's like, I'm a 40-year-old woman that can't speak to a freaking guy just because he's Kai Green.
People,
I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
People rip on him for being so eccentric and stuff, but he was the best with fans. He really would take all the time in the world with everybody.
Yep. Yeah. And that is something that's hard to do, like when you're that popular, because you want to make sure you give the fan a good experience, but you also have 500 other people waiting. So it's like, where's that line, So
on the other hand, I won't at least. Ron and Dusty will. So you can talk to me for a half hour. That's cool.
No, please come.
I actually have people that try to get away from me because they're like, God, stop talking.
Yeah,
I don't actually care that much, bro.
Yeah. We only listen to your podcast a couple times.
Yeah, stop it. I was just waiting for Clarida to open up.
I was waiting for Fuad's line to get shorter.
They talked to us waiting for Clarida to get there after the show. Like, I guess we'll talk to these idiots.
It'll be interesting to see who comes by, because we always have like owners or listeners and viewers come by and say hi.
Yeah.
And really looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to give us a heads up message that you're coming. We'll keep an eye for it.
Don't be afraid to ring the bell.
Yeah,
that's my favorite, when they come up and ring the bell. I'm like, your form was off, but not bad.
There we go.
Would you guys be up for knocking out some rapid fire here?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. Could you reach your full potential even with a poor coach?
No. If you have someone actually holding you back, that's difficult. It's one thing if they're not helping you much, but it's differently if they're holding you back. And that's what a poor coach is. They hold you back, right?
Yeah.
You'd be better off on your own than with a poor coach.
Yeah.
And same guy, what are things that you should look for when picking a coach?
You gotta, experience is huge. Someone who doesn't have all the answers to everything, that's a terrible sign when they have the answers to everything. I think someone who tells you need to buy $400 worth of,
their gear
or their supplements, or that stuff to me is not a good sign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, you must use this brand and you must use all of these things, and you need to be on 4 different liver cares, even though you've only run one Anadrol or one Anavar cycle in your whole life.
Yeah.
But you got to buy all these liver cares, use my discount code, all that stuff. I think that's a bad sign.
That's
obviously
even
you want to use.
When I send out these supplement links, I of course link them to Mutant stuff, and then literally right next to it, or any other isolate.
Yeah,
or any other creatine monohydrate.
Yeah.
Like these will get you a discount. But if you, I mean, I have 2 people in Arizona that just hired me, and they were like, "Oh, is there a local that you would go?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, go to DS Nutrition, talk to Denny. He'll know what to swap these out with." Same shit.
Yeah.
You know, I want you on the supplement. It doesn't need to be these. I think a big one, depending on who you are, is just how do you communicate and how do they communicate? You know, like people know if they hire me, like I'm not going to like coddle you through the process. Obviously, I'm going to help you. I'm going to answer questions, but if you're looking for a cheerleader, I'm not for you. You know, if you're looking for someone to drag you across the finish line, I can't want your goal more than you do. And I'm very for that. And there's nothing, and there are coaches that will do that. So if it's something you need, it's not, you know, I'm not your guy, which is why when, like, if they send interest, I send a full breakdown of how I work. Yeah. And literally the last line is, if I don't fit what you're looking for, tell me what you're looking for. I will know someone that I can refer you to.
I have a thing that I do. I don't intentionally do it, but I just kind of, I don't know. When people first message me, they go to a link on my website often, bigronpartlow.com, and they click a link and they fill out the form and they send it to me. Mm-hmm. And it says on the form that I'll get back to you within a couple of days. You know, these forms go to a separate email, and the people that are applying. And so I see it and I get back to them and we start chatting. And I actually make sure that I'm not too quick on the responses, because there's a certain type of person who's actually just shopping around.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
And I find if the application takes a few days for us to chat through, it gets them past, maybe they were like, if they're talking to 4 coaches at the same time, they quite often go with the first one who replies, or the first one that sweet talks them, or the first one that gives them a good price or whatever. And I just sort of want to get past that. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then, I want to work with people that want to work with me.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, are you actually waiting? Like, are you like, hey, Ron, I think I'd like to do a show with you. And then I talk to you the next day and maybe you message back. Or are you just like, I want to coach by the weekend and, I'm getting rolling on this prep.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I like to make sure that, they actually want to work with me. And I don't know. Do you guys have any ways of handling that? Like, how do you get around that?
The only thing that I'm not nearly as good at it, to be honest with you. I had a guy just over the last month. We had 42 correspondents.
Oh,
and he hadn't started yet.
Right.
And then I finally said, hey, I don't mean to hammer you at all. Like, you don't need to hire me, but I have people that I'm working with that have less correspondence this month than you and I have. And if this is what you're going to need, I can't do it. You're not my only client. So if 42 a month is normal, I'm definitely not your guy. But I think I think what you have to ask yourself, because the real question is, what's the person I look for, is what do you need? Yeah. And don't be afraid to say, here's what I need. I had a lady just barely that said, hey, once a month I have to go to Florida. She's not a competitor. She's like, I have to go to Florida, and during that time I will not be going to a gym because I'm taking care of my parents. So I don't, and she said, I don't know if we can do this with that. And I was like, oh no, we absolutely can. Yeah. Here's how we're going to do it.
It's like a weekend a month.
Yeah. But it's like, no, it's 1 week straight.
1 week.
She flies to Florida, does the thing. And I'm like, we're going to hold your nutrition. Everything will be fine. And your goals, I mean, she's not trying to get ready for the Olympia.
Yeah.
But her asking that question is huge, because then I can be upfront with her and give her an answer. And if someone, let's say if she was saying like, I'm trying to win the USAs, I'd be like, well,
yeah, that's different.
We might have a problem during prep. You know what I mean? So I think that's a big thing, is before you start. It's like when you go car shopping, what kind of car are you looking for? What do you need? Is it a family car? Is it a sports car? Like, you need to know that before you get to the dealership.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. And remember, even if you have someone in mind, you say, hey, I want to hire Scott McNally. I've heard great things. I know all about how passionate he is, all these things. It's still good to come to Scott and say, Scott, here's the things that I need.
Sure.
And because you've heard great things, you'll know he won't BS you if he can't do it.
Yeah.
He'll go, yeah, I can't do X, Y, Z, so.
And I would rather be upfront about that, because from the coach's perspective, it's not fun to get in a situation that you can't deal with anyway,
No, I 100% agree. And it's important to remember. I remind clients all the time because clients will reach out and they say, let me know if I'm a candidate. And I'm like, you're a candidate. I don't even need to read this.
Sure.
I can help you. You're interviewing me.
I've had people do that where they're like, well, let me pay you before I show you what I look like. You know what I mean? Like, no, it doesn't matter, man. If you got the heart, you want to do it, you're going to follow the plan, then that's really, you're qualified.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing, though, is that you have to remember, especially if you're talking to someone who, for whatever reason you look up to or like or whatever, is understand that the reason you like them is probably because they will have your best interest in mind. So don't be afraid to put those things out forwardly so that they can give you an honest answer. Because I had one lady that I worked with for 2 or 3 months, and I finally reached out to her and said, listen, you need an in-person coach.
Oh yeah, there are those situations.
You're great. It's just I'm actually not your best option. And so I referred her to a local guy. He wasn't as well known, but I knew him and he was great. And they went on. I mean, I think they're probably still working together. It's been years because that's what she needed. You know what I mean?
All right. Listen, let's jump forward. Can you guys?
That was a great rapid fire, by the way.
Right. All right. Can you explain a recomp phase? What's a recomp phase? And I've had people ask me this. They're like, I don't know what that means.
Well, Scott, since you are not talking nearly enough, and I laugh because I had somebody ask about, they're like, I didn't know Scott coached. I'm like, how did you not know?
I hear that sometimes. I do.
So I'm putting
the smartest guy on the show.
No. So what's your answer to that, Scott?
Here's my thought, and I'll take it even a little step further, and I'll try to still rapid fire this. We used to think of bodybuilding as being like, we're going to do a bulk, and then we're going to do a cut, and then we're going to do a bulk. And I feel like for a lot of people with more average genetics, a real good goal is to work on losing fat and growing muscle at the same time. And I think that's what a recomp really is trying to do both. Sometimes maybe if you are pushing a little bit, that food gets built up, you're getting a little bit too heavy, then maybe we want to recomp you back in a little bit. Not where you're like hard dieting, but we're definitely going to work on tightening you up. So yeah, recomp is growing muscle and losing fat together. And I think that it is very, very doable, especially for guys that aren't already, pro bodybuilder, 300 pound size. If you're 180, you can definitely lose fat and grow muscle at the same time.
Yeah. I see a lot of I've been getting a lot of guys that are kind of in my position, like they're in their 40s or maybe their 50s.
Yeah.
And they've been training their whole life. And they're like, you know what? I want to recomp a bit. I want to be leaner. I don't want to look as bulked up. Like I'm still pretty big for 48 years old or whatever. I think I might want to drop some weight but look look better. And I find those guys, get them on a good diet and running their TRT. And sometimes they do the old, like, body weight doesn't change for months thing. And they just look a little better all the time. And it's just, it can work. Some people, especially if they don't know how to train, right? If they know how to train, it's a lot easier.
I'm skipping that one so we can go faster.
I got to tell you guys too, get this. So I'm down 15 pounds from the beginning of the year.
Damn. Oh, okay.
For me, I was 215, so I'm at 199 now, which I haven't been. But the thing is, it's been a few years since I was really trying to hold muscle and grow all that. So I realize I still have about 15 pounds left to lose. So I can't see myself getting down to 175 though. So we're gonna keep.
Do you look better? You getting leaner? Like, you think you look good?
Oh yeah. I'm definitely getting much leaner, and I'm definitely recomping too, building some muscle in the process, and training getting better. And
I saw an update that you put up an update saying your cardio feels like it's better than it has been since you had like the long vid.
Yeah. It's going good. I actually did we have one of the concept rowers here in the basement. And I actually was able to push that today. I did my regular cardio, and then I did a little test, and I was like, oh, can I get on the rower and see how that? Yeah, I was able to stick with it.
You did the test right before you did it? Oh, wait.
That's no. Different kind of test.
Does that work? I was thinking maybe you were going to credit some of that cardio to having to walk and answer voice messages to me about my questions.
Gun talk.
Every time he answers my question in gun talk, I can hear him breathing. I'm like, and I can hear the steps.
Yeah.
So I know when to bother Scott because I've got him stuck. I'm like, I know what time he does cardio now. He's screwed.
You know, it was Jim. Jim was, I can't say like, oh, it's all because of Jim that I'm doing cardio. But he did a story about like getting your heart rate up, doing some fasted cardio. You know, a very classic Jim story on Instagram, right? And I was like, you're right, Jim. I'm going to do some fasted cardio. And then I stuck with it. So it was since that day, awesome. That was like the thing. Yeah. All right. How about this one? We had a rate my physique, which we do. Somebody said, can you please rate my physique? We do have a quick, we'll see if we can get that in here. But how about this one? Would a 1992 Lou Ferrigno Olympia physique, how would he do at a national show in 2025?
Oh, damn. I mean, I remember Lou looked pretty good at that Olympia.
I'll get it.
Pull him up. I gotta see that. I mean, so I can speak.
That was a while ago. 92 Olympia. Didn't he get 10th in Helsinki, Finland? I think he got 10th.
Okay. I'm not sure on the placing. I can look that up.
Yeah, you got 10. I mean, damn.
This is not a complete picture here, but this is the first thing that came up for me. Look at that. Dusty, you're off. And Ron's looking at his phone.
Obviously, it's only one shot, but I mean, he's in great shape there. So,
yeah.
I got some photos for you.
All right. Fire those over.
Here's one. Here's a better shot. I wouldn't say that's like the best posing for his legs, but his legs are absolutely peeled.
Yeah. Here, I sent you a few photos.
I think that he would, based on that shot, I think that he would be a top 5 super heavyweight. I don't think he would win.
No?
The things that are missing would be exposed by the top guys.
Yeah.
As super heavyweight.
He also did the 93 Olympia.
Okay.
He did both. So you could tell the black background, I think, or the 92. Because the 93 had a bit of a different background. But again, it's hard to say. You never know. Prejudging, I'm not sure which ones are prejudging.
That ab and thigh kind of gives you a pretty strong idea of where he was at. Yeah, I mean, seeing that ab and thigh shot, I mean, it's possible in the right lineup he could even win. But I've been seeing quite a few really solid guys roll through. So
I think that looks like it's 93 Olympia for some reason. I don't know. It's hard to say. You have to see if his number changed.
Yeah. One of our listeners told us that Paul Dillette talks on podcasts now and stuff, and he said that he's taller than he lied about his height back in the day.
6'3". Yeah. He used to say he was 6'1", and I remember I met him and I'm like, he's not 6'1", he's taller than me.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think he was paranoid the judges would expect him to be 300 pounds or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. That's what somebody said in our comments on the reaction we did.
Oh.
What about tips for reducing heartburn and acid reflux when pushing food in a surplus?
Acid reflux. Fun. I never
dealt with
it. To me, I never really had an acid reflux problem, fortunately. I'm not the guy to ask. Yeah. It was just all so easy for me. I just breezed through.
Yeah. What about you, Dusty?
What's funny is obviously with my
he burned a hole in his esophagus.
I learned that I had acid reflux I didn't really realize was there. Because when you have it, like when you're like, oh man, I mean, it's like burning sensation. And I knew of those occasions, but apparently I was dealing with it for years because, I mean, based on what the doctor said, what I had didn't come from a few here and there's.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the, I'll call it the benefit of knowing, because I was never uncomfortable with food, never had any issues, never had bloating, never any of those things. Mm-hmm. So apparently just the sheer volume was enough to cause a little bit of a ruckus. But I'm in the same boat as Ron where I couldn't really say like, oh, X handled it because it was never an issue. And then once I got out of the coma, I never really pushed food again. So it's never been an issue, All
right. I've got a Physique Critique here. I'll throw this up real quick.
Let's do it.
And I'll also add, if you found that there are specific times that it's happening, like is it a specific food you're eating, or are there supplements that you're using? I like to use what is it? Now Foods Super Enzyme. It's a good digestive enzyme. Plus, it has a little bit of HCl in it, so you get the the betaine is acting like stomach acid. And a lot of times, what we end up doing is we produce stomach acid at the wrong time. So you eat the food, like if you have an acid reflux problem, we eat the food, and then after it's out of the system or it's out of the stomach, that's when the acid gets kicked up afterward. It's poorly timed, but if you can get the HCl in there with it, then it will better time up in your body. It really what it comes down to is your body doesn't have enough acid at the right time in a lot of cases. So you end up overproducing acid afterwards. So believe it or not,
right.
The answer is to add acid in versus Western medicine always wants to just take it out and buffer it with something,
Right.
So I'll throw that at him. All right, so this is Jake, and Jake didn't tell me anything about himself, so I have nothing to go on there, but I'm going to throw up some shots.
So he's 6'5".
Yeah.
It's a really small door.
Yeah.
He has a good wrist flexion.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
He bend his wrists over a lot.
Oh, and he told me he was like, I'm going to throw this extra one in because I had a good chest pump.
There we go.
Yeah, he looks blowing up here. He's got a good amount of muscle in his physique too.
Yeah, I'd like to know his height and weight. I don't know.
Yeah, I got nothing.
How tall is a door? Door. It looks like he's 5'10", 5'9". I don't know. How tall is that door? 5'8". I don't know.
I'm ignoring the door completely and making him shorter.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 5'6".
That's kind of where I've got it too.
Okay.
So the obvious positives is great frame for bodybuilding. Waist, all those things.
Yeah, he's got the quad sweep, the lats that pop out. Yeah.
Nice side shot here.
Oh, he's got the side leg drop.
Great leg, yeah. When I look at the physique, if I were to ask someone for a critique, I'm not really asking them to tell me what's good because I probably know what that is. I feel like he could work on thickening up his back, because the lower lumbar can definitely be thicker. There's some body fat on, so I think as he leans down, it would be even better than I think it is now. But I do think that that's the one thing I look at and I go, okay, from the back, you're not as strong as you are from the front.
Okay,
Some of that is posing because his elbows are way too far forward, but I can definitely see that part. And from the back, if you look, like in the front shot, the lats look really wide, and in the back shot, they don't look nearly as wide. Again, some of that's posing, which will adjust it, but the overall density and thickness could definitely be something to focus on. I hate to be a terrible review, but everything else I look at, I'm like, just keep doing what you're doing for longer.
Yeah, he just needs
because there's nothing I see that's like, oh, okay, you need to work your quads. Every muscle is there.
Yeah.
So from the front and side, I would just say keep doing exactly what you're doing and do it for 5 more years. And then the back is the one area where I'd say, for whatever reason, it could just be genetic, but it is the one area that's not quite as blown out as the rest.
I think the posing is hurting that back shot too. His elbows are very far forward, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, who knows? He looks like he trains everything and looks like he trains hard. He's got some legs on him. And the rule, Dusty, if anyone's got some legs on him, they at least, they're at least putting that time in.
Yeah, that's the running thing when I was a kid was if you see someone in baggy pants and a tank top and they got huge arms, you go, I wonder what the legs look like. But if you see a guy in short shorts with huge legs and a big hoodie, you already know how big his upper body is.
Yeah, you're not wondering. He's probably not that German cyclist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know,
the only it's all there, I promise.
Lower body doesn't match. Yeah. This
guy's biceps,
good.
by the way. Like
that's piling muscle on.
Biceps are awesome.
Muscle.
Yeah, he looks good.
A little envious of the hair.
Yeah, he's got a lot of hair too.
And use up the doses.
Whoops. Give him time. Give him time.
I said that to Justin Shire posted a picture from last year and this year. Mm-hmm. And I answered him. I said, even your hair grew. I hate you. You're supposed to at least lose some of that, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
What else you got?
All right. I think that was about it. All of a sudden I got a bunch of gear questions too. So I didn't even know where we'd go with those. Yeah. Well, like somebody who was on T3 for a year. It says T3 for 12 months. Just stop. How long before thyroid regulates? What supplements can support?
You'd be amazed. Your thyroid might be normal anyways.
Yeah. Exactly what I was going to say. Why are you guessing?
There's a whole bunch of evidence. I don't know what the latest stuff is, but I've seen a bunch of studies where people went off Cytomel and their natural production of everything was very normal, right? Really quickly. There was a study of people that were on Cytomel for 30 years, I believe. And the reason they looked at the study was because they had found a whole bunch of people were misdiagnosed 30 years ago and put on Cytomel. Mm-hmm. And then they realized that they were misdiagnosed. So they took them off Cytomel and they studied them. And their thyroids all went to normal. It wasn't a suppressive thing. I don't know how much they were on. I think it was like rather normal doses, but I've had my T3 and T4 checked because most people just get their TFS or thyroid stimulating hormone, their TSA checked, right?
Yeah.
But I've had like that checked and my T3, T4 checked right after contest prep, at within a month, and everything was normal. Like my thyroid stimulating hormone was normal, T3 was normal, T4 was normal. And I'm like, oh, I just ran like 25 to 50 mics of Cytomel for 4 months and it was fine. Yeah. So I wouldn't be as paranoid about it.
Thyroid for some reason is the thing that more people ask me about. Like, oh, I don't know if I want to do T3. I don't want to mess my body up. And I'm like, I don't need you to use T3, but I do need you to know that it's not that easy to mess up.
And another thing, like I know some people will say like this and that, but I love a little bit of Cytomel for prep. Like,
oh yeah.
So I know some guys are like, oh, I wait till 6 weeks out to put it in. Like I put it in right away, 25 micrograms, just a little bit of icing on the cake. Just leave it.
Yep. It's kind of like a TRT for your thyroid. No matter what you do with the diet, you're still just cranking along.
Yeah, cranking along, and then and people trying to micromanage, like, oh, I better have a high carb meal. It's like you're fine. You got a little bit of Cytomel in there.
I think that comes in more when they start high dosing it. You got guys who are like at 100 plus.
Yeah,
and,
I've never ever done that or had a client. I've never taken anyone over 50 in my entire 21-year career.
I used 100 once before I had before I'd worked with a coach later. But I was just going off the boards, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you start at 25, and then you go to 50 a couple weeks later. You ramp it up, And
a couple weeks later,
yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah.
I ramped it up to 37. Literally, like I'll take a client. I'm like, cool. Now cut one in half. Now we're going to do 37.5.
Yep.
See how it goes. I mean,
and that's usually it. At the most.
I run 12.5 to 50. Rarely 50, usually 37.5 or whatever. But I remember I did go to 75 once, and I had a few bad workouts in a row, so I quickly dropped back down. And then I had a few more bad workouts in a row, and then I had to high carb like hard for a few days, and I don't think I fully corrected it or understood how flat I got. I did my own prep that year, and it almost kind of like screwed up the rest of my prep because I was never really full again because I'd flattened out so bad on too much Cytomel that I never really gave myself the chance to come back to life. You know what I mean? I was all paranoid. Oh, I don't want to put a gram of fat on. Yeah.
Chris used to do that occasionally. Just say, don't take Cytomel for a couple of days.
That was almost like having high carb days. It's
He was like, just pull the Cytomel for 2 or 3 days, and then he'd look, all right, cool, start that up again, back to 25.
Yeah.
You know, or 37, whatever it was.
Here's another one. If you had to train right after waking up, would you be more likely to want to use hydrolyzed isolate or EAAs?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if I had to train right out of bed, my priority would be to get a liter of electrolyte infused fluid into my system immediately.
Yeah.
I do that anyway.
And then after I definitely had myself hydrated, I would put in a little bit of stim, a little bit of hello, good morning. But the important reason I say that is I wouldn't do that right away because then you're going to dehydrate yourself more. You know what I mean? Like if you have coffee right out of bed, you're just going to pee a bunch. And now you're even more dehydrated for your workout. Like people don't realize how that piles up. So you want to make sure you're hydrated. That's super, super important. And, put some EAAs in with that or some hydrolyzed whey, I guess.
I always did EAAs to answer the question, but it wasn't that I necessarily would say, oh, one is better than the other. It's just what I always did. I had exactly what Ron just said. All of my clients, when they're in prep, that's the rule. Wake up, just a liter of water. I put the EAAs right in them and then add salt, which the REAs have some sodium in it. But I'm like 4 or 5 turns of salt with it, shake it up, drink that before you do anything else. And don't do you're not sipping morning coffee. Get that water in. You got 5 minutes, drink a liter. It ain't hard. Just put it down. Now start, because a dehydrated workout is a weak workout. No two ways about it. And everything else is noise. I don't really care whether it's the hydrolyzed or the EAAs, but the fluid and the sodium, immensely important.
And I'll add too, I don't know what the situation is, but if it's like a work thing, like, oh, I got to be to work at 5, so I'm getting up early or whatever. I would, if you're trying to grow muscle and you have the room for it in your nutrition, or maybe even not, just make the room for it. You could add in like an intra-workout carb too, something like that. That way you are still getting nutrients in while you're training. Throw that in there with an intra-workout EAA even.
Very true.
Yep.
What do you guys think about injectable L-Carnitine?
So I remember when Meadows first started talking about it, and there was like evidence on paper that it could help burn more body fat.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how to take it. Like, it's not that you just pop some, 2 grams of oral L-Carnitine before you do cardio. It's like a pool like creatine. So you need to have it stored up. So they were doing injectable carnitine. So I ordered some injectable carnitine and I ran it for a while.
Okay.
But I didn't really notice anything more. Like, I was already dieting and stuff. So I not really sure if it did much. I should give it, another proper college try, I guess. But there's a lot of things where maybe on paper they make a difference. But when it comes to being in the shit, you're dieting, you're doing your cardio and stuff, and just don't really feel like it adds to it. I don't know.
Yep. I had the same experience with it. Just for me, when you're doing so much, and in the peak of our careers, I was trying to make sure that I crossed every T, dotted every I, did everything that made a difference. But if there was an additional anything that I couldn't tell a noticeable difference from, I didn't want to bother. And that's where that fell for me. And again, I have actually taken the time because of John also and dug into it. And it became one of those things where I had an enormous expectation for what I was going to see. And then I was like, I don't see anything. Okay. It might have been working, minutely, but there's other things, for example, fasted cardio, which has been proven not to work. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And I go, yeah, it does. Like I've done it. And for me, it did. You know what I mean? So that was kind of how I stood with that, and how I looked at everything is I'm not an anti-science person. Yeah. But I also don't ignore what's happening when I do things. And the science can say whatever it wants about like a fasted cardio. And I'm like, cool, I got in shape faster when I did that.
I'll go against you guys on the L-Carnitine. And that's just because I've had a really good experience with it. It was with the long bug and all that. It was the second supplement that I found where I was like, whoa, huge. It gave me, it gave me a ton of mental clarity, because I had like a lot of fog that first year. And I found that and ubiquinol were like the first two things.
Oh, ubiquinol is no question.
I love this stuff. So I never really messed around with L-Carnitine back when John was talking about it, because back then you could only get it at 200 milligrams per milliliter. And I'm like, it's a 3 ml shot every day. And I'm already taking a lot of other stuff, and I didn't want to do that.
You know what I mean? Taking shots.
Yeah. It's like I'm doing enough shots right now. All right.
Yeah.
But now they have it at 600 milligrams per milliliter. And so it's a lot easier. I don't even go with the full 600 though. I even found like 350 or 400 is good. And there's especially certain situations that it's beneficial, but it will help to improve your ability to transfer fats as fuel. And I found that for me, I noticed it instantly. Like with AM fasted cardio, I'm just like freaking sweating like crazy. I'm like, man, this wasn't happening before. Yeah. And I've had other people tell me that too. So, it might just be where we're all at, like for me, it's a very unique situation, but I noticed it's really good. I know Victoria uses it for women in certain health situations where maybe using a stronger fat burner isn't a good idea. And it might actually help with improving health at the same time. There's situations where it could be really good. I've talked to people who've done really well with it, but I'd say see for yourself. And here's my thought. Even if I had a client and I was like, hey, let's try some L-Carnitine for fat loss. If you tried it for a few days or a week, and then you told me like, I don't notice any difference, then I'd be like, well, let's just not buy any more of that,
Right. Yeah.
Right. Even with even with the great response I've had, it doesn't mean that I want everybody to take it.
Right. I get what you're saying. So even if you start with like the crystal meth and the ephedrine stack, and then you throw in the clan, and if that's not hitting it, or if they can't quite do the whole thing, then you maybe run them on some L-Carnitine.
A little L-Carnitine just to boost that up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. I think
loss.
That's all we had, guys, on this. It was all the questions we had.
That worked out good.
You know what I mean?
Thank you for everybody with the questions that filled our show, so our unpreparedness could roll right through.
Yeah.
We're going to have to come up with a plan for the next show, Dusty. We're not going to have Ron here.
Well, I got other Jose's. We'll be fine.
You guys
when Ron's not here, I just cheat. That's the name of the game. As they say, cheaters always win, or something like that.
Outsource.
No, it's winners always cheat. Cheaters always.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyways,
same.
The sentiment is there. I do want to talk about something before we leave. It's okay.
Shoot.
It has nothing to do with bodybuilding.
Okay.
Even better.
I have. I've noticed that I am I knew this before. I'm a late stage Tom Brady fan.
Late stage?
Great already.
And what I mean by that is if you go back 20 plus years to the first Super Bowl win, I wasn't into the Patriots. I was like, oh yeah, they got this new kid. They won a Super Bowl. Okay, whatever. Okay. And I didn't really care, and they weren't my team. And I kind of cheered for the Steelers or the Niners, but I wasn't really watching football that much, and blah, 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 blah. I didn't really care. I think it was more around the fourth Super Bowl ring, because he won a few Super Bowls and there was a bit of a gap.
Right.
And then he won another. And I think it was like when he won another one after the gap. Again, I'm not totally up on what years these were, but I remember there was a point where I was like, oh, okay, I guess these people are saying that this could be the GOAT, right? Because, you know, I grew up on Montana and Steve Young and Marino and Favre and all those guys. And I'm like, maybe this is the GOAT. And you start paying more attention, and then of course you see the comeback win, the 28-3 versus Atlanta, and then the overtime win against Seattle, and this and that, and they get the Super Bowl start adding up. And then he does that crazy move where he says, "Oh, come and play for you for a year if you get Gronk off the couch." And Tampa makes it happen, and then they deliver another Super Bowl.
Yep.
And it just gets to a point where, and then we watched the game we watched a couple weeks ago where he was there giving color commentary, and he was like breaking down plays and what went wrong. And then you're absorbing all the memes. And then of course, after the last Super Bowl, the Brady memes were really heavy because of all the putting the GOAT talk to sleep with Mahomes.
Yep.
So now there's all these new Brady memes that I've never seen. Like, hey, let's not forget the day Brady put up 518 yards against this team or whatever. And you're like, he did 518 yards one day? I don't remember that. And you start like watching these and seeing the stats, and you're like, yeah, that game's good, but have you seen these stats? And there's all these memes of his other stats. Like, he won 3 Super Bowls before he lost a playoff game. And just like, and they just start to get out of hand. You're like, the fuck? This is, how is anyone not a crazy fan of this? This guy is I just have such an appreciation for someone who's that dominant and that good and that has that much expertise at something. And I watched this clip of him saying like, yeah, when we beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl, I knew their defense more than they did. I spent 14 hours the last week watching game tape. And you're like, oh shit. And he's like, yeah, I knew like if their linebacker leaned his head this way, I knew exactly what play they were running. I didn't even have to look at the defense. I could snap the ball with my eyes closed and know who's going to be open. And you start to hear him talk like that. And you're just like, man, I was not fully appreciative of what was going on while it was going on. And I like to just take a moment to like, I'm scanning and I'm like, I'm a bigger fan of Brady more now than I ever was when he was playing. And I just didn't have the in the moment appreciation because you just want to see good football and everything. And you're like, oh, it was a great game. Like, I can't believe they came back. But now in hindsight, hindsight's 2020. And I'm just thinking, man, like someone asked me the other day, who's the greatest athlete of all time? And that's a really hard question because athletics bridges so many different things. It's like an equalizer on a stereo, like, who can run and jump the highest. And, that's an athletic thing. But I would say who's the smartest athlete of all time?
Right.
That's Brady. Scott's muted, by the way.
Yeah. The other thing I had to add, because obviously when I was watching all those same things, I forgot that in his era, you could try to kill the quarterback.
Yeah, that was another thing.
There was no penalties. Like you could try to kill him if he had the ball. And they had clips of him like getting lit up, and he'd pop right back up and go, good hit, and then walk right back in. And I mean, they would have you arrested. They would have you arrested for the hits.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
Oh God!
Oh, they're so protected. You've got to like the quarterback. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. There's only one quarterback that doesn't slide, and that's Josh Allen. He is too big and too strong to slide. When he slides, it's funny because he doesn't know how, and it's the ugliest thing you've ever seen. You're like, oh, Josh, that was really sad looking.
The one meme was like, Mahomes can play like this when he only gets hit like this, and then they showed Brady just getting like,
he's getting
from behind, like full on sacks from behind, and
blindsided, just level
blindside hits, and you're like, yeah, it's a different game. And I just had to say that, and I'm wondering if anyone else out there feels the same way. But I've been going back and watching like his Super Bowl wins. Like I went on YouTube, I watched all of his like final Super Bowl win summaries and everything, and just his new appreciation for that level of mastery. So that's my little speech.
I love the I love looking back, like you said, because it does give you like a feel for what it was then. And then on the flip, because I know you guys will both appreciate this, Jaden Daniels, who is the quarterback for the Commanders this year, it's his rookie year.
Yeah.
One of the things he demanded was that he could use AI for practicing.
Right.
Really?
And he practices AI daily at 1.25 speed.
Yeah.
So the game is moving faster, which anyone who's – I have friends that have played in the NFL, guys who have been great in college and weren't good enough in the NFL because the NFL is this much faster, which is way, way faster.
Yeah.
Speed is the difference.
And this guy's practicing at a faster speed than that.
It's like Matrix
and it's working.
stuff.
It's working, and I think you're going to see every team start to do it soon.
Wow.
Yeah, they'll all be doing that. They'll be running their dropping back with a visor. They'll be running the VR headset, doing their drop backs, picking someone who's open. It'll be 1.5 speed.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I read about that early in the year and then watched him play all season, I was like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Because it's like anything, when you played football, Ron, you never had a game that hurt as bad as practice. Because they kill you in practice so that in the game you're fine. It's the same for bodybuilding. If you spend those 30 minutes crushing your posing for 6 weeks, it doesn't matter what the judges put you through because you've done worse. So when you can practice at a speed that the game isn't played at, imagine what real speed looks like now.
Yeah.
I mean, I love going to games especially if you're around people that don't know. The speed is so fast, people don't realize. I'm thinking, so for him, this is actually a little slower than he's used to.
Yeah.
And that's wild.
That's how Brady said it in the one interview. He said, my computer processor was running at the highest rate in the NFL, and that's why we won everything. And Belichick was sitting beside him in this one interview, and they asked him to name his best play. And Belichick, you think he's going to name a play like an overtime win or a Super Bowl win, like the pass that won the Super Bowl. And Belichick names this play that's not a game winner. It was a third down conversion. And you're like, okay, this is the greatest play ever. But in his mind, it's the play that turned the tide to generate the touchdowns later that won the game. And the reason he picked the play was because Tom had to go through 3 options and decide all 3 of them were not good. And then he actually threw to the 4th guy who's just a decoy on the play. But all of it took 1 second. And he said Brady wasn't even done his 5-step drop, and he'd already eliminated all 3 main options, and he decided he had to go to his decoy 4th option, his decoy. And he threw it was a running back out to the side who I guess he had never thrown to on that play for the entire year because he'd never had to go through all of his options. Yeah. And he ran through everyone in 1 second, got the first down. And Belichick was like, that's the essence of Brady, is this processing speed of critical situations. And you're just like, wow, there's a lot going on. I just have a lot of respect for these guys. Scott's muted again. I don't know why.
He doesn't want to talk to us.
You want to talk to us?
I don't know. I'm having problems today. It's interesting when you mentioned you're like, the level of athleticism and who is the greatest athlete, and to think that processing speed is part of that.
It's an enormous part. That's like I was just obviously with the NHL right now. They've got guys they're talking about, and they'll literally say like, if you saw this guy at camp, he's not the fastest, he doesn't shoot the hardest. But they're like, he's one of the best guys because he knows the game better than anyone else. So although he's operating literally at a slower speed, it doesn't matter because his brain is operating at a faster speed.
Yeah.
So it changes everything.
One of my favorite, Dusty loves this clip. I know he does. But one of my favorite clips was an interview where they were talking to Wayne Gretzky. And they were like, one of your skills, because, he was the great one. Gretzky at the time was the greatest ever, right? So one of your skills is you're always where the puck is. Like if you watch Gretzky, I remember guys used to break it down. Commentators would be like, for some reason, Gretzky skates over here. And then the puck gets knocked out of the scrum and it goes over there. And now Gretzky has the puck behind the net. And now he picks his guy and there's a goal. And Gretzky said, what I used to do is I would watch Hockey Night in Canada with a piece of paper in front of me. And that was the hockey rink. And I would put a pencil where the puck was and I would watch the TV, but I would draw where the puck was.
Huh.
And I would just run the pen until commercial break. And wherever the puck went, that's where I'd go. And I would just watch. And then at commercial, I'd look where the puck was. And it was always in these corners. And it was always over here. And against this team, the puck was here a lot. And against that team, the puck was here a lot.
Wow.
And that started as a kid. He was a kid doing that. And then when he's on the ice, he knows where to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I love that shit. I just love that stuff. Like how a champion becomes a champion. It's fascinating to me. And I hope the listeners enjoyed it. So
yeah, and if they didn't, I did. So we're good.
Yeah. We did this show for us. Okay. I appreciate you guys both repeatedly muting your microphones during that entire segment so I could talk a lot.
The dogs decided it was time to go outside, and I know I had a choice. I had to step out. I was like, they're done. They're done. They know what time we usually start, and they know we're 30 minutes late. So they're like, we don't have to be good anymore.
Okay. Well, enjoy the new purchase, Dusty.
Thank you.
Okay. I expect photos.
Absolutely. Tomorrow.
And thanks, everybody. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Right. There we go. Is that it, Scott? We're good?
Well, the next time we see you, or the next time we talk, it's going to be in Columbus, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
So we got to think of something to do on Thursday. We'll get together on the Thursday.
Yep.
And we'll do something for the show, something that's mutiny and it's just bodybuilding-ish and maybe listener related. Maybe we'll tell everybody where we're going to eat or something. I don't know.
That would be fun. That would be
awesome.
cool.
Hey,
yeah,
maybe we should come up with something because we're going to actually have some time on Thursday. I'm going to be done shooting my 2 episodes on Wednesday, and I'll just be chilling on Thursday.
Yeah, we're both coming early too, so be good.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thanks, guys. Remember, IamMutant.com. Dusty and Big Ron are your codes. Hit them up. Get your ISO surge. Get your all in, and everyone should get on the gear. Remember, it's just bodybuilding.